What's going on, guys? The Comics Kid 2099 here, and a couple weeks ago I did a review of the movie Galaxy Quest, which was a movie I had never seen before doing that review, and I said that I really enjoyed the movie, and then I hinted that there was going to be another space movie that I had never seen before that I was going to be reviewing, and that movie is Spaceballs from 1987, directed by Mel Brooks, starring Bill Pullman. Mel Brooks himself is in it, Rick Moranis, and this lady, I don't know her name, Zuniga, Daphne Zuniga, I think, and then John Candy. So quite an A-list cast for this movie. Most of them are pretty popular actors, and Mel Brooks is a guy, I've not seen a whole lot of his movies. I grew up watching Young Frankenstein, and that is by far my favorite of his movies. I've seen it, I can't even tell you how many times. And then Men in Tights, I've seen it, I think, one full time, but I haven't seen it multiple times like I have Young Frankenstein. And then a few months ago, I was at a store buying some old used DVDs, and I saw Spaceballs for a couple dollars maybe, and I was like, wow, I've never seen that movie before, and it's pretty cheap. So I went ahead and got it, and I watched it, and I didn't really like it. In fact, I don't entirely understand why people do like this movie. I have to say, right off the bat, this movie is a comedy. And for me, when you are judging a comedy, at least in this case, you're not really judging it on the story, you're more judging it on how funny it is. Now, some comedies, you can judge it on the story. You can say, okay, the story did or did not work for whatever reason. But this story is pretty much lifted straight from Star Wars. It takes huge elements from Star Wars, and it just makes those elements funny. And so it's not so much the story that you're looking at here. There is some story stuff here that's a little bit original, but for the most part, this is just a fairly straightforward story, and really it lives and dies on its jokes. And I have to say, maybe 20% of this movie was really funny. The rest of the movie was very lowbrow humor that I did not find to be very funny. Most of the time when a joke happened, I would be like, like I wasn't actually laughing. There was a few times where I was really laughing at something that I thought was just hilarious. The stunt double joke I thought was very funny. The merchandising running gag. Every time we saw a piece of Spaceballs merchandise after the initial Spaceballs merchandise joke, I was always laughing at that. And then like the scene with Dark Helmet playing with his dolls, I thought that was really funny. But there is so much more from this movie that wants to be funny, and I just don't think it works very well. Either because it's just so incredibly lowbrow, and I'm thinking, wow, these guys can do better than that. I've seen them do better jokes than that in other movies, like Men in Tights or Young Frankenstein, which is funny because this falls like right in the middle of Mel Brooks' career. Some of his earliest movie, I think, was The Producers, which I've also reviewed. I keep forgetting about that one. I don't really consider that to be a Mel Brooks movie because it's so early. I keep forgetting that he was actually pretty heavily involved with that. But movies like The Producers, I think, had better jokes than this movie. And then Young Frankenstein, which was, I think, 77, and then Men in Tights was like 94. So, like, those movies, you know, are spread out all throughout his career, and I think that all of those movies are funnier than this one. I really don't know if it's just the cast of this movie wasn't working, or if the script just wasn't very good, and maybe Brooks should have tried to go for a second script or rewrite the script as it was. I'm not really sure what it was about this movie that just didn't work for me, but there was a lot of it that I just didn't find to be funny, or there were elements that were funny but needed to be reworked so that it flowed better. For example, there's this one scene that is a parody of the chestburster scene from Alien, and that scene will only be funny to you if A, you are familiar with the movie Alien. If you've never seen that movie, you're not going to understand why it's funny that John Hurt has an alien bursting out of his chest, and B, if you're familiar with the mascot for the old WB, the frog wearing the top hat. Commercials from back in like the 30s or whatever had this frog singing a song, and the chestburster in this movie, after he comes out of John Hurt's chest, starts singing that song. And so if you're not familiar with those commercials or the movie Alien, that scene is not going to be funny to you at all. It's really just this weird non sequitur that comes after the bad guys are defeated and before the aw, sweet, there fell in love scene at the end of the movie where Lone Star and Vespa get married. It's just kind of it's a scene that feels like it's just kind of shoehorned in there. Like, okay, we need something to add another 3 minutes to the movie. Let's do a parody of that scene from Alien. And I think that scene would have worked a lot better if it had been put somewhere else in the movie. Like, let's have it before Lone Star and Barf get their message from Pizza the Hut. Let's have this be the scene that introduces them, where they're just hanging out at a space diner, and then they leave, and then they get a message from Pizza the Hut. Or you could have this scene happen somewhere in the middle of the movie, after they've already rescued Princess Vespa, and maybe before they go and they meet Yogurt. I feel like that could have worked a little better if it had just been placed somewhere else in the movie, because it feels really awkward and shoehorned as it is. But even so, like I said, you have to be familiar with Alien and that commercial with the frog. And if you're not, then that scene will not be funny to you. And I feel like there's a lot of that going on here. There's a lot of, this could have been funnier if X, Y, and Z had happened. But overall, not my favorite Mel Brooks movie. And I'm sure that I am in the minority here. I feel like a lot of people really love this movie, and I didn't grow up watching it. Maybe that's part of it. Maybe if you grew up watching this movie, you would have enjoyed it a lot more. But overall, I found a little bit of it to be funny, but overall, it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a lot funnier than what it was. So those were my thoughts on Spaceballs by Mel Brooks and all those actors that I already mentioned. And if you guys liked this movie, let me know why in the comments below. Tell me if you liked it and what you liked about the movie. And if you liked this video, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And I will be doing some other videos next week and on this channel periodically. So be sure to check those out. And I will see you guys in the future with some more videos. Have a great rest of the day. Catch you later.